Welcome to Ask Jessi Kneeland. This week's question is, how do I stop overthinking? It was part of a longer question, but I pulled that little piece out because I think it's so important. Um, and because people do ask me this all the time. Oh my God, I'm overthinking. How do I stop doing that? Okay. So, first of all, I hate the phrase overthinking, and I hate the phrase stop overthinking because I think that in general, people use that kind of advice, stop overthinking, to just justify all manner of being uninterested in dealing with your stuff. So to me, if somebody says you need to stop overthinking this, what they're really saying is I don't feel like dealing with this right now. To me, that's unacceptable. So it's also unhelpful. I mean, no one in the history of the universe has ever been like, hey, you should stop overthinking. And the person's like, oh my God, you're right. I'll stop thinking so much. So it's unhelpful. I think it's rude and dismissive. And also, like, what does overthinking actually mean? It is kind of supposed to be implied, I believe, that that you're giving it too much thought, that you're like spinning out, that there's some sort of like hysterical element to it, that a normal rational person would have stopped thinking about it a while ago or something like that. So I don't like it because it feels like just an outright insult. It also feels like we're holding people up to a male kind of rational stoic way of approaching something. It feels like the patriarchy at work is that we can say men think, women overthink. That's something I feel like I hear a lot, and it's just not true. So for all those reasons, I hate this phrase, I hate this advice, but I hear it all the time, so I wanted to address it. The answer to me is to stop judging it. If you feel like you're overthinking something, I would ask you to figure out why you think that. Where did this over come from? Why aren't you just thinking about it? Where's the too much that's being implied here? Where does that come from? And find some forgiveness and compassion for the fact that your brain clearly still has work to do. Because if it were simple and it was like case closed, you just wouldn't be thinking about it anymore and it wouldn't be an issue. But it is, because you're ruminating or you're going in circles or you're replaying or you're doing whatever it is that you're doing that's bringing you into this category of feeling like you're overthinking. So to me, the topic isn't over. It hasn't been fully dealt with. And that doesn't mean you're overthinking. It just means that it has been underthunk so far, that it still has more to do, more to go. And maybe that doesn't need to be conscious, right? Like a lot of times we overthink stuff that we just have to wait and see. We already kind of did everything we could do. We made the decision and now it's just running around our heads and we're just waiting for the outcome of whatever we sort of decided. So sometimes that happens. And I would say in those cases, it's not about overthinking. It's about anxiety, maybe. It could be about anxiety or stress. But more often than not, you're just not done. And there's still more to do. And maybe that means you have to go deeper. Like maybe you already made the decision. I can't think of a good example here, but like if I'm going back and forth, do I do this or do I do that? And I'm just like stressed about it. It's in the back of my mind for days. I keep bringing it up and somebody's like, yo, you're overthinking this. Just pick one. So, okay, maybe I could just pick one, but that's obviously not the kind of person that I am. Clearly, I'm the kind of person who needs to go deeper and deeper and deeper. So if you were to make like a pros and cons list for me, that probably still wouldn't really help because the thing I'm struggling with, the thing that's making that little story pop up in my mind over and over, it's not like rational facts. I'm not missing facts. What I'm missing is a level of depth of processing. So go deeper. If you're an overthinker, you're probably in need of going deeper with whatever's coming up for you. And maybe that means like just one level deeper where you go, oh, I think what am I feeling about this, for example? Like I feel scared. Or I feel dread. What does that mean? What does dread mean to me? Like maybe that's the level you need to get to instead of the level of like weighing the facts, the pros and cons. Or maybe it's way, way deeper and you need to like just keep digging until you find like an old repressed trauma or something that's really important and big and scary. Like I want to quit my job. Like those things can sometimes be buried really deep and you're not going to find it by doing the superficial work of trying to make the decision and be done thinking. I don't believe there's any benefit to being done thinking. If you're a person who needs time to process, give yourself that time. Lastly, if you are someone who feels like you chronically overthink, or you're constantly spinning out or feeling that sort of anxiety, and you've tried going deeper, and it's not working, then probably you're in your head and you've lost touch somehow. You're out of touch with your heart and your body. So that's the next thing that I can recommend. Either do the deep dive, like using your conscious brain, or do the deep dive getting into your body and your heart. These things kind of overlap because that deep dive, that going deeper, it's always going to be about something other than your thoughts. It's not about facts. It's about feelings, which is your heart, and sometimes it's about like sensation feelings, which is in your body. So if your body's talking to you and your body's saying like, don't do this, like dread, your body's sending you these messages that say, this is awful, it's awful. And then in your head, you're like, but it seems like the right decision, but I'm torn because I don't know why. Anyway, here I'm going back and forth. Well, the reason you're torn is because your body is sending you really strong messages not to do this thing or to do this thing, and you're ignoring them. So what seems like it should be a rational decision no longer is a rational decision because you've cut off huge pieces of relevant information, which is how your heart feels and how your body feels. So if you get back in touch with how your heart feels and how your body feels, you're going to have a way easier time releasing some of that work that your brain's trying to do. It's trying to solve all these problems for you without actually engaging your heart or your body, and that's tough. It's not its job. So all of those hopefully will help compassion and forgiveness, moving into a deeper level of processing and understanding with compassion that you're a person who clearly needs deeper processing, at least on the topic that you're overthinking. And then lastly, getting into your heart, getting into your body, and letting them inform you, letting them be relevant information, the most relevant information actually that you could possibly have on the table, and let them override any logical things that are like, well, I think that's a good idea. But if your body or your heart are screaming no or screaming yes, that's way more important than whatever your brain came up with. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting here overthinking. It would already be done, and you'd be like, past it. It would be done and processed in a filing cabinet in your brain. But it's not. It's running around, and there's a reason. So I say listen to that reason. Tune into your heart. Tune into your body. Forgive yourself for being this so-called horrible overthinker person, and just own that you're a person who needs more processing and like has to actually tune into it all, or else it doesn't get filed.